Good afternoon, FBC Salinas. This is Pastor John coming to you with another edition of the Midweek Refresher video, where I desire to provide some information as well as inspiration in the middle of your week. Certainly hope your week is going well, and if not, hopefully this video can be used in such a way to encourage you and to remind you that you're not alone. And also to remind you that this is an amazing week. This is Christmas week, and some of you right now are probably saying, I am overwhelmed. I can't get things done. And others of you are saying, you know what? What's done is done. I'm moving on. I'm settling in, and I'm going to enjoy the rest of this week. Wherever you fall on that spectrum, it's my hope that you're able to take some time and reflect on the fact that Jesus Christ has come to this earth. And speaking of that, we'll be celebrating his arrival tomorrow night at 6 p.m., Christmas Eve, 6 p.m. on the back lawn. Some of you have been saying, you realize, Pastor John, it's going to be very cold. I know that. I'm well aware of that. And yet I fell victim to, that's not the right way to say it, but I'll just say this. I've watched a few Hallmark Christmas movies this year, and you know my feelings of Hallmark Christmas movies, but let's just put that to the side. And one of the things I noticed was that they're always doing these things outside, and it's always festive, and everybody's doing fine. And so I'm partially going to blame Hallmark for providing an idea to do something outside. And so I hope that it is a wonderful experience for all of us, and I believe it will be. I encourage you to bundle up if you're coming here. Also encourage you to bring your own chair. That's really important on this. So we'll have some chairs here, but it would be very helpful if you brought your own chair, and also be ready for a very straightforward singing, a message, being with one another, celebrating Christ's arrival. It is going to be very, very simple. And we will be using the manger scene from Streets of Bethlehem. And so it's all part of this idea, not an idea, but it's a way that I want us to simply focus in on the simplicity of it. I think in the midst of all that goes on in our world, sometimes we can make things really complicated. And I think in this one, we're going to simplify things. And I look forward to singing with you. I look forward to presenting this great message of Jesus Christ coming to earth to you, as well as being with one another. And yes, we'll probably see our breath, and yes, there'll probably be a little chilly, but all that is to say, we are going to celebrate his arrival. And speaking of his arrival, I want to also remind you that we celebrate the fact that Christ is with us all the time, and we celebrate that this weekend, right? So you can join us in worship on YouTube or on the online service at 10:30 in the morning. And we are doing all types of safety protocols. We've been doing this now for the past number of weeks, where we've gathered for worship inside, and we will do that again, and want to just help you there, help you understand that we're taking all this stuff seriously, and masking up, social distance, temperature checks, and we invite you to join us for that if you'd like to. If not, we understand that full well. You'll enter through the family room door would be the entrance place and entrance way there. And so please join us for that, or join us online for our worship. And speaking of worship, how can we not, right? How can we not worship this great God? This great God who came and became one of us. He lived among us. Let that sink in. We get caught up in the romantic views of, not romantic views, but we romanticize what happened. And yet the bigger truth, the bigger beauty of all of this is that God came down. God came down. Every other religion out there, every other belief system out there says that you can become God. You can become your own God. But yet Christianity is the only belief system, only way of looking at things where God came down. He completely flips it. Let that sink in. This God who created everything that we see, this God who sustains everything that we see, and by the way, things that we don't see. That God who parted the waters, that God who rescued Noah's family in the flood, That God who gave David the courage to fling a stone at Goliath. That God who came down and spoke to Elijah outside the mountain in that still small voice. That God who provided courage for Gideon. That God who provided direction for Moses. That God who moved in the midst of Joseph when he was being mistreated by his brothers and in prison and went through all of these things, and yet he comes out the other side and says, my God was with me. That God that we read about, all these heroic stories from the Old Testament and these heroic stories, frankly, in the New Testament of Saul at the time going to Damascus and all of a sudden being hit by a bright light, and God confronts him and says, why are you persecuting me? That God that rescued Saul and who became Paul. That God who reached into Peter's life and said, hey, you're going to mess up, but I want you to know this. I'm still with you. I'm going to still be there with you. I'm going to redeem you. I'm going to restore you. That God who took a group of 12 individuals that no rabbi wanted to have anything to do with, took that group of 12, and eventually became 11, used that group of people to transform the world. That God who did all those things that we read about in Scripture came and lived among us. John chapter 1 verse 14 says this, the Word became flesh and made his dwelling among us. We have seen his glory, the glory of the one and only Son who came from the Father, full of grace and truth. My hope, my prayer for all of us as we celebrate Jesus Christ's arrival, and in a bigger word I'm going to use here, we celebrate the incarnation. The incarnation. God became flesh. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us. As we celebrate this, may we not leave it at the manger, but may we be in awe of all that God has done for us. The fact that he came and he lived and he moved among us. He understands everything that's going on. That God who did all these miraculous things, may we celebrate the fact that he came. And because he is so genius, because he is so magnificent, he continues to change lives today. May we celebrate that truth. May we celebrate that truth each and every day. I look forward to worshiping with you tomorrow on Christmas Eve. I look forward to worshiping with you, whether it be online this weekend or in person, because we have a great God who became one of us. And before I wrap up, I want to simply remind you and thank you for your contributions to our Christmas offering. We're still going to be taking that through this weekend, and we invite you to participate in such a way that children in Nairobi, Kenya can get some shoes. It's $5 per pair of shoes. Also, bring by pairs of shoes for homeless children in Salinas. We're collecting those. And also, our staff has been doing a great job this year, and we invite you to participate in contributing to that Christmas offering as well as a gift of appreciation for them. So all of these things going on at this time, but the most important thing is this, is that the Word became flesh, dwelt among us, and we get to celebrate that. I look forward to celebrating that with you in these coming days. God bless you. Have a great rest of the day. Hope to see you tomorrow night on the back lawn at 6 p.m. I love you. I'm grateful for you and praying for you. God bless. Bye-bye.